All right, and we are live. We are live. I'm so delighted to be here tonight. It's been a long day, but then we are live. Today we are talking about something really very interesting: how to prepare your child for a successful academic um, year. How to prepare your child for a successful academic year. Okay, and we'll be looking at a lot of factors today. Some of the things that um, we as teachers or as educators can do to prepare our children, to prepare our students for a successful academic year. So it's not enough for anyone to have children. It's not enough for parents to um, bring up children and have them go to school. There must be a structured plan, there must be a structured preparation, there must be something ready for them to ensure that these children learn adequately in school. Okay, so we want to be looking at some of the factors that can be put in place to ensure that our learners, anybody that's going to school, any child that is in school, will be adequately prepared for the academic year. So you're going to permit my bias tonight. I'll be focusing majorly on the academic development of a child. Okay, so I'll be focusing majorly on what will help a child develop academically. Meanwhile, if you're just joining us, kindly click on the share button and let someone know that we are having this webinar right away. Okay, let someone know that we are live. Let someone join us and come and learn from what we'll be sharing tonight. Okay, so how do we prepare a child for a successful academic year? How do we prepare our students for a successful academic year? Okay, this is what we're looking at tonight. So pay attention. If you need to grab a notepad, do that so that you follow us closely. So I'll be sharing a few tips with us, some of the things you can put in place to ensure that your child is adequately prepared for a successful academic year. Now, I want to start here by talking to our parents. You see, one of the major things as a teacher and an educator for a couple of years now, one of the things I've noticed with our parents is that most of the times parents just send children to school. They see school as a, how do I put it now, as a getaway plan, okay, to not take care of the children or to not have to pay attention to the children. They just feel that when a child is sent to school, everything concerning the child's well-being is being catered for. Please, this is a very big error, a very, very serious error that any parent must try to adjust and make effective corrections to. Okay, it is not enough to send a child to a school. Some parents pay a lot of money in schools and they feel that the money they are paying in school should justify that the child should learn and improve and do well. All these things are very important factors, but it doesn't necessarily ensure that your child will learn. It doesn't necessarily mean that your child will do exploits in the field that you're sending the child to. Okay, so this is very, very paramount. We need to know that it is not good enough to just send a child to school. There must be systems in place to ensure that that child is learning. There must be systems in place to ensure that that child is thriving in school. So, what are some of the things? I'll be sharing a few points with us that any parent should be able to put in place to ensure that the child learns adequately. What are some of the things that you need to put in place as a parent? Number one, you'll be very shocking. It will be very shocking for you to know that the first thing you need to do as a parent is not necessarily any physical preparation. The first thing you need to do as a parent is that you must have some level of faith and belief in your child. Please write that down. You see, most parents are eager to provide the physical assets for their children. They want to give the child a good clothes, they want to give the child shoes, excellent materials. All these things are good. But then there is something that is superior um, to these things that you provide for a child. It is good for you to provide all these physical things for a child, but nothing is as good as having faith and believe in your child. Please write that down somewhere and listen to me attentively. I wrote a post a couple of years ago or last year now, thereabout. I wrote a post how that whatever you give a child, any physical material you give to a child will, in the long run, become a waste. You give a child a new clothes, and then in few weeks, thereabout, that same clothes that was adored will no longer be seen as something to be held in high esteem. So although you spent a lot of money to get that physical belonging to the child, but after some time the child no longer have any passion for that thing you've given to that child. So it's a call to let us know that anything we give to children, right, that is physical, is temporal. I love the way the good book puts it, that whatever it is we see right around us, the things that are physical, they are temporal, but the things which are eternal cannot be seen with our eyes. Are we together now? So it is important that the first thing you must give to your child is to have faith in the child. I have it as a personal opinion and a personal belief that there's no child that is dull. There's no child that is dull, irrespective of the child's how do we call it now, appearance, irrespective of the child. Some children come out and then they have some challenge, some issues mentally or otherwise, right? But that in any way does not say that that child is dull or that child will not thrive academically. So it is important that the first thing we must give to our child is belief in the child. You must tell the child that you believe the child. If you are a teacher or an educator, this principle also works for you. You must ensure that the children that are coming to you believe in themselves. You tell them that you trust them. You let them know that you believe in them. And what are some of the ways you make a child know that you believe in them? By the little task that you give to that child. The little task that you give to the child to do, you give the child a particular task to do, you give the child a particular something to do, to perform. All these things are signs that you have faith and you believe in the child. Okay? So the first thing you must do as a parent, the first thing you must do as a parent is that you must believe in your child. This is one of the ways you prepare a child for the academic session, for the academic year. You first start by believing in that child. Do not see a child and then you just say this child is dull or this child is not performing well. No, you must have faith enough in the child that the child can thrive, that the child can do well. Irrespective of the child's learning disability, you must believe in the child. You must believe in the child. So the first thing we must do, thank you very much, Essay, Daniel, for joining us. The first thing we must do is that we must believe in our learners. We must believe in our children, okay? Now, the next thing I want to say to us as parents, the next thing we want to take note of is that we want to take note of, it's a new academic session. If you're a parent, the next thing you want to take note of is the school you're sending your child to. I'm going to dwell a little bit here so that we get the gist tonight. The next thing you want to pay attention to is the school you're sending your child to. Now, I don't have any bias for any school or any institution of learning, but then you don't just send a child to a school because the school fees is high. You don't send a child to a school because you just see. No, there must be criteria that in the school that supports your child. I'm saying this to parents so that you know, whenever you're sending a child to a school, it must be that that school is fitting for the child. Okay, before I proceed in talking about schools now, let me say this. If you are a parent and you do not understand the learning style of your child, you cannot adequately cater for the child's well being. I say this again. If you are a parent or a teacher, an educator, and you do not know the learning style of the children that are before you, I tell you the truth, you cannot, and you can quote me anywhere, you cannot improve the child academically. The first thing you want to do as a parent, after you believe, you have faith in your child, is that you want to know the learning style of the child. This will, in the long run, have a lot to do with the decision that you will be making concerning the learning of the child. Are we together now? I say this in some of my podcasts, and you can go and listen to them. Let me just quickly do a rundown. There are three basic learning styles for any child, okay? We have children who are auditory learners. Auditory learners are learners that learn basically by what they hear. Okay, they learn basically by what they hear. So these children learn by hearing, and then they can thrive in classroom environments where you have group discussions, where you have talk shows, and all of those things. You see that these children can learn very, very well in that environment, right? The second learning style of children is children that learn basically visually. Okay, we call them visual learners. They are learners that learn basically by what they see. Of course, we all are visual inclined, right? But there are learners that without a visual learning aid, they will not understand whatever it is you're teaching them. So these are visual learners. And then the third kind of learners, which most parents do not know that their children fall in that category, are called the kinesthetic learners. Okay, kinesthetic learners, they are learners that learn hands-on. They learn by activities, they learn by being proactive, they learn by doing tasks. You see that child that you have in your house that is climbing the chairs and doing a lot of things in the house, do not say that child is stubborn. The child is not stubborn. The child only have a peculiar learning style called a kinesthetic learning style. Are we together now? So children who are kinesthetic learners are learners that learn hands-on. So if you do not know the learning style of your child, you will just send the child to a school anyhow, and then you do not pay attention to the details in that school, right? So it is not enough for you to send a child to a school that is paying a lot of money. You must pay attention first to the learning style of your child. So take for instance, your child is a visual learner. If you send that child to a school that does not have a good environment, you are doing that child a very great disharm. Am I making sense now? So you want to pay attention to the child's learning style. You want to send the child to a school that has conducive environment. Children learn basically by playing. One of the major ways children learn is through play. There's something called play-based pedagogy in education. Maybe one of our YouTube videos, I'm going to share some things around that line. Okay, there's something called play-based pedagogy where you get to teach children through the instrumentality of play, where you play with children and then you educate them through play. Okay, most children learn through play. The formative years of any child should be allocated, should be used to just play with the child. Okay, I wonder why a parent will give birth to a child and then at age the child is just barely 2 years old, 3 years old, and you're dropping the child with a nanny. I'm sorry, but if the nanny does not understand how to play, that child's formative years can be wasted. I'm sorry. I hope I'm not going out of my bands now. So the first thing you want to do, understand the child's learning style, and then you want to also see the school you are sending the child to. What is the environment in that school? Is the environment conducive for learning? Can the child learn in that environment? Can the child thrive in that environment? Does that environment support play? Can the child play in that environment? Does that environment have good aesthetics that the child can roam around and just have fun? This is very, very important for child's learning. Are we together now? The next thing you want to see in the school is the curriculum of the school. What is the model? What is the teaching style of the school, the teachers, and then what curriculum is the school using to teach your child? You see, some schools you just go there, very funny and humorous. I went to a school recently, and then I will not call names, so I'll not be in trouble. I went to a school recently, and then I was just hearing a lot of things. We use British, we use American. I'm okay. And just to take a dive into what they are doing, and I see that the children will just be in deep chaos, right? You want to know what exactly are you teaching my child? The Nigerian curriculum is not as bad as it seems. But if you're using a British curriculum, if you're using an American curriculum or a Nigerian curriculum, as it may be, you want to know, are they really following this in? Ask questions. As a parent, you must be detailed about your child's growth. And is the school learning hands-on? 21st century learning approach has to do with hands-on learning. Does the school teach hands-on? Do they have laboratory apparatus that will support the child to have some practicals? Do they have an ICT support system that helps the child to learn technology? Will the child learn hands-on? Will the child grow hands-on? These things are very, very important. Are we together now? So please, if you are still listening to me so far, please share this link with someone on your timeline. Let them join us, and we're going to have an amazing time. This is going to be very short but very impactful. Okay, I've prepared for you for a very long time, and I trust you get value for tonight's class. Okay, so tag someone on Facebook, on WhatsApp. Let them know that we're learning how to prepare a child for a successful academic year. So yes, back to the school. What is the welfare and what is the quality of the teachers in that school? You want to know. Can you see that sending a child to school is not just this school is good? No, you want to go a bit deeper. You want to go a bit deeper. What is their policy on discipline? How do they discipline the children in that school? How do they discipline the children in that school? You need to know that. You need to know that. Are we together now? So this is one of the things you need to look out for when you are sending a child to a school. You need to look out for these things. You have to be very deliberate about it. The choice of school, I've said a number of things now. Number one, I said the first thing you must have, you must give to your child is not monetary asset, it's not clothes or uniforms or all of these things. So the first thing you must give to your child is that you must believe in the child. You must believe in the child's vision. You must believe in the child's dream. You must believe in the child's aspiration. You must have faith in the child that the child will do well and thrive. Number two, I say you want to discover the child's learning style. And the child's learning style will have a lot to do with your decision of the kind of school you're sending the child to. So I said that a kinesthetic learner, for instance, you have to send that child to a school that will support play, that will support. You cannot send the child to a school that the child will not see things, will not be able to express his or herself. If the child is a visual learner, you want to send the child to the school that is very aesthetic, very beautiful, has good playgrounds, the classrooms are well designed. Let me say this to teachers. If you're a teacher, I think one of the things you have to do to welcome your children to school is to begin to decorate your classrooms, put things on the wall that will be welcoming. You know your students' name. There's nothing wrong in printing their names and putting them on the board. Very, very important. It will help the child to feel welcome, to help the child to thrive. Are we together now? The next thing I want to speak to parents about, if you're a parent or a teacher, the next thing you want to do to improve your child's learning in this new session, in this academic year, is to provide or create a learning schedule for your child. You want to create a learning schedule for your child. See, nowadays, parents don't do this, teachers don't do this. They just believe you have not done your homework, you've not read, go and read your book. No, I've been to a number of families, right? And this is not to castigate anyone or any family, but I've been to a number of families. I just spent a couple of days and I see the kind of structure that they have in place for the child's learning and development. See, if we continue in the system of approach we are giving to our children, the children will not get the best of life. They will not maximize their potential. I think that's the word, right? So a child is just there watching cartoons from morning till evening. The child is not learning anything. You see that now? The child is not learning anything. Okay? So if there is no structure in place for your child's learning, there'll be nothing the child will be able to learn. You have to create a learning schedule for your child. Thank you very much, Adesimi. Precious. Thank you so much. Yes, you have to create a learning schedule for your child. You have to. This is very, very important. Okay? What is the child doing from this time to this time? I see some people saying you are trying to make the child robotic. No, life is built on a principle of routine. I think you need to write that down. Life is built on a principle of routine. So if there is no routine, there is no development. What do you think is happening in school? Let me digress a little. What exactly do you think is happening in school? You come to school every morning and there's an exact thing that you have to do every day. There's no school that doesn't have a schedule for learning. There is something that you have to do every morning. There's a routine, there's a morning assembly. If it's Monday, there's a subject that you have to do that very particular time. And after that time has elapsed, there's something else to do. Then there's time for break, there's this other subject, and then there's time for another break, and then you have the closing time, and the child go home. Right? Next day, the routine starts again. Right? So we need to know this. Life is built on the principle of routine. So if there is no structure for the child's learning, if there's no routine built for a child, then the child will not learn academically. So if you are a parent, one of the things you want to do is to put up a structure of learning for your child. Before, maybe probably before the end of the month, we'll see how we can put up a free consultancy sessions where parents can get to reach out to us and then ask questions. Okay, we want to help as many parents as we can. Okay, to help their child develop. Okay, we believe that one child that is transformed, will help this society become better. We help the society to grow and be great. Okay, we believe that we can transform the world one child at a time. Okay, so you want to create a learning schedule for your child. Draw up a calendar. What is your child doing on Monday? You can speak, you can book a session with me or with a consultant or something. Design a learning schedule for your child. On Monday, what are you doing? What is the time allocated for television? Not all time should be for television, right? Children should not spend their time. You see, now these children are all over the internet on cartoons. Let me digress a little. The programs the children are watching nowadays is no longer healthy for them. There's no supervision. A child can sit down and be watching Big Brother Nigeria. There's nothing bad with that. Okay, before I'm being sanctioned. There's nothing wrong with that. But then the child is little, is not age appropriate, right? You want to check out what a child is watching. You want to check out what the child is learning. There are channels that teach all kinds of things that are not healthy for children. You want to structure your child's learning. Draw up a reading calendar. What are you reading from this time to this time? You saw the academic performance of your child last term. What are you doing about it this term? There's no magic that is going to happen. Nobody is coming from heaven to rescue the destiny of the child. It is what you've done that will improve the child's growth. It is the system you've put in place that will help the child to thrive. So create a learning schedule for your child. Create a learning schedule for your child. You want to design a learning schedule for your child. You want to design a learning calendar for your child. You want to design a timetable of learning for your child. Let me say this to help a parent. There's something I do with my children. This is very, very practical. There's something I do with my children that help them to read. One of the ways we help our children at Network of Exceptional Tutors to read and do better, fall in love with their books, is that we create a system to help the child read every day, right? And then it's called the reward system. You don't necessarily have to bribe the child. It's different from bribery. Now, you just create a routine, and most probably I'll find a way. Some of you that have registered for this program, just ensure that if you've registered, I'm going to design something and send to you on your email. Okay, I'm going to send to you on your email. Design a learning program, right? A schedule, sort of. On Monday, you create the routine you want the child to perform on that particular day. So once the child comes by his or herself, the child will just go and perform the tasks for that day. And the child will get used to it. All the child needs to do is to perform the task. And then while the child is completing a particular task, you just put a star there. And then let it be that if you are consistent for a month, for instance, right, there should be a reward, right? Guess what? Anything you do for 21 to 30 days become a habit. Write that down somewhere. Whatever it is a child does for 21 to 30 days becomes a habit. So if you insist on a child learning a particular skill, doing a particular routine for a period of 21 days to 1 month, that child would have developed a habit alongside that particular routine. Are we together now? So create a learning schedule for your child. Next thing I want to say to parents and educators, I do this for my students, even in the classroom. And if you're a parent out there, you need to do this, inculcate this into the life of your child. Your child must have an affirmation. Let me say this again. It is what you say to yourself that you become. It is what you say to yourself that you become. Thank you very much, Mr. Day. Bola, thank you. You're following me very closely, and I like that. Thank you so much. It is what you say to your child that the child is what you say to yourself that you become, right? We see that um, children, or how do I put this now? Adults do this, but they neglect the children, right? What you say to yourself has a very great way of impacting who you are and what you become. I do this to my children. I do not believe that any child is dull. So very quickly, I have a list of affirmations. I design them appropriately, and then I ensure that my heart consistently every now and again. Guess what? The continual saying of this particular affirmation, this continual positive speaking to their self helps to improve them and helps to make them become better. So you want to create, design an affirmation for your child. There should be something your child is saying every day, looking in the mirror. They should say this to themselves every blessed day. I have a list of 20 things I say to myself every day. I don't care whatever the time of the day, I say these things to myself, 20 of them, because I want to see this straight in my life. What exactly is your child saying? If a child is timid, for instance, you want to design an affirmation that will help the child become self confident. I am confident. I am bold. These little speakings have a way of transforming a child. Okay? As another package, if you've not signed up on the form that was sent to you, please check our Facebook page online. However, it is you got access to this webinar and you see the link to register. Quickly register. I'm going to forward you an affirmation I designed for children. I listed out 10, at least 10 affirmations that 10 positive sayings, 10 affirmations that will be very impactful to any child. And I'll send it to you for free as a parent or an educator. You look at it and then you see how you can instill these things in the children that you have access to. Okay, I'll send them to you. Ensure that your email is there and your phone number. Find a way to put it in there, and I'll send the package to you. Okay, teach your children to have affirmations about themselves. Yes, exactly, Mr. Precious. Because you become what you say. You become what you say. Okay, you become what you say. Very quickly, before we begin to round up, right? Before we begin to round up, I want to quickly now speak about the early years and foundational times of children. Okay, the early years plan of children. Now, if you want to send your child to school, especially for parents who are sending their toddlers to school for the first time and then they are confused about what to do and how to go about the child's learning and all of these things, you want to pay attention to what I'm about to say now. The early years and foundational times of children are the fundamental periods of learning of any child. So most children, whatever foundation you want to give to a child, has to be built during the early years of the child. And what is the early years and formative years of these children? Between the ages of 2 to 5 years, children are in their foundational years. Children are in what we call their early years and foundational years. This is the period where you want to instill habits, character, and you want to instill some traits, you want to instill some cognitive skill in the life of the children that you have access to. Guess what? If you do not have a structured plan for your toddlers, the child will find it very difficult in the long run to grow. I'm saying this now, especially for young parents that are just early parents and all of these things, and then teachers of early years and all that. You have to have a structured plan for the early years and foundational development of a child. Let me say this and let me shock someone. It is it is wrong that I'm not saying this as a doctrine now, but it is wrong for you to, in a school, have more screen time for children than hands-on time. Have you gone to schools there? I hope I'll not be in trouble. Have you gone to schools where you see more television, you see screens everywhere, and they're playing a lot of TV things, cartoons, and all these things for the children? This is very good, very interesting for the children. But children in their early years and their formative years, They do not need so much of these distractions. This is one of the cause of short attention span in the life of children. So you want to desist from sending a child to schools that have so many screens all over. Screens are not, you don't do that for children, especially when they are in their formative years. Children within the age of 6 months to 2 years should not spend more than 30 minutes screen time, right? This is very, very important that we know and adhere to. So you want to build a very, very good structure of foundation for your child. Now, if you are a parent, if you are homeschooling or you want to send the child to school, part of the things you can do to prepare the child is to help develop the cognitive skill of the child. You want to develop the how do I call it now? The fine motor skill of that child, right? Get puzzles, get puzzles, display puzzles for the child to play with. Get things that the child can handle hands on, right? Get things the child can handle hands on and help the child to develop cognitive skills. There should be puzzles the child should play with. There should be things the child should scribble down. Help the child to learn by play. Help the child to learn by activities rather than having the child learn by screen time. Okay, so these are very, very important points that you want to take note of. As a bit to round up, let me quickly do a quick recap. I said there are a couple of things you need to take note of when you want to give a child a very successful academic year. Number one, I said that you must have faith and believe in the child because no child is dull. We believe that no child is dull. Every child is has inside of them a seed of greatness. Number two, we say that you must discover the learning style of the children that you are sent to or the children you are assigned to teach. So you want to know if the child is auditory, if the child is kinesthetic, if the child is a visual learner. So you want to have that at the back of your mind before you send the child to school. Okay. Number three, I say that you have to pay attention to the kind of school that you're sending your child to. I talk about the learning environment of the learning environment that the child is sent to. The school should be tailor made based on the learning style of the child you are sending to school. The school should be able to conducively accommodate the learning style of the child you are sending to. Let me say this in addition. Do not send a child to a school where there is no program to train the teachers that are there. It is very, very important. If you are a school owner or head of school, it's very important that we invest in the teachers that we are having to. It doesn't matter if the teacher has an NC or has a PGD or has a doctorate in whatever. It's very important that they go for conferences and seminars to reinforce the skills that they have. Okay, so you send them to a school that has good structure that support the 21st century learning and all of that. Okay, number three or number four now, we spoke about having the child say certain positive affirmation to themselves every time. There should be an affirmation the child is saying to his or herself every day, and parents and teachers should be able to reinforce that to help the child to develop properly and adequately. And then finally, we spoke about the early years and foundation of the child. Years and foundation of the child is very, very important that you give the child a very, very good foundation. If you are a parent that has a toddler or a child that's just growing up, you want to ensure that there are systems in place for the child to learn, right? For the child to learn as a toddler, learn Montessori, learn fine motor skill. There should be puzzles that improve the cognitive development of the child. These are very, very important points that you need to take note of. We spoke about designing the learning schedule for a child. Yes, very important. I was about to skip that. Right? You should be able to design a learning schedule for a child. Let me say this very quickly before I drop the mic tonight. If you are a parent and you do not have a learning zone for your child, I said this in one of my podcasts, you need to get it and listen to it. If you do not have a learning environment for your child, then it will be very difficult for your child to learn. It's not everywhere that is conducive for learning. If you send a child to the bedroom to learn, that child will go and sleep off. The child will go and sleep off. Why? Because the environment is designed for sleep. You don't send the child to the bedroom to read. So you have to design an environment that's conducive for learning. Yes, you may want to say that children sleep in the library too. No, but when you've designed a learning schedule, the child now knows that okay, this time to this time is allocated for reading, is allocated for study, right? You now have a learning environment. So you say, okay, Junior, turn off the television now. It's time for learning, and then the child knows exactly where to go to, knows exactly what to study. He has a very structured learning environment and learning time, right? That child will thrive. Okay, that child will thrive. Okay, let me say this finally. If you are a parent, do not, do not, you do not impose learning on the child. You teach a child to learn. You teach a child to be studious by your life. What do they see mommy and daddy doing? If mommy and daddy are watching TV all the time, they will also watch TV. We only become what we behold. We only become what we behold. It is what we see every day that we are changed into, right? So you want your children to do as you do, not do as you say. So what exactly are you doing? Okay. So if you put together these points that I've shared, you will see that your child will have a very successful academic year. And of course, you want to also reach out to us if you need us to support your child in any way. You want us to have homeschooling sessions with your child. You want us to have a private tutoring sessions with your child. You can reach out to us on our social media platforms. You can reach out to us on our email, on our website, networkofexceptionaltutors.com.ng, and we'll be super glad to help you the best way we can. Okay, so thank you very much for joining us tonight. I trust you got value for your time here. Please do well to hit the subscribe button. It's right there. Just hit on the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell. We'll do well to constantly share valuable content for you on this website. Okay, so this is our way of launching our YouTube channel. We are live now, and then we're ready to dish out value to our teachers, to our educators, to our parents out there to ensure that we give our children a very, very solid structure of learning and of growth. Thank you very much for joining us, and see you some other time. Thank you.